closer. Oh, that way?
We live.
Yeah.
This is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner. This is the Couples Corner. With Team Evans. This is the Couples Corner. The Couples Corner.
The Couples Corner with Team Bevins of I Still Do Ministries every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is another episode, and today you will get some good information, some great nuggets, and some tools to strengthen your relationship. The Couples Corner with Team Bevins.
How y'all feeling, man? Welcome to the Couples Corner. Man, it's Monday night. We feeling good. How y'all feeling? Man,
They're not going to answer you.
They ain't going to say nothing?
No, babe.
Oh, that's fine. They said
radio. It's the radio.
They said it. I heard them.
It's
I heard
the
them.
radio. It's the radio.
I heard them. They said it. So listen, y'all. Welcome to the Couples Corner. We are Team Bevins. I'm Marcus, and this is my wonderful wife,
Cherie.
And tonight, man, we are going to get with it. I hope y'all ready for tonight. We have a pretty interesting topic that we're going to deal with tonight. One that is not foreign to a lot of people, you know, and so many of us have experienced it before at some point, shape, or form in our relationships. And we're going to jump right into it as soon as we get out of prayer. And so the topic tonight is living single in a married world. So as soon as we're done praying, my wife is going to jump in here and we're going to get this party started, and it's going down.
Hey, Nicole.
Father, we thank you for another opportunity to gather together in the Couples Corner. We thank you, Lord, for what you're going to do tonight with and through your people. We thank you, Lord, that all will be done well, that it will be done decently and in order. We thank you that people will be encouraged, be strengthened, that they'll get some tools, some nuggets that they can use to strengthen their relationship, to bring longevity, oh God, to bring forgiveness, oh God, to bring about change, that we would be able to live life, oh God, in love, in marriage, the way that you designed it, oh God, and that we would be able to prosper, and that we will be examples to those who desire to join the married club. We love you and we thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'm jumping in. Okay.
Jump on in.
Good evening, everyone. Today,
How you
this
doing?
evening, I'm not going to talk to them. Well, if y'all talking at home, we can't hear you, so he don't realize it. So please tonight, hey Antoine, please tonight, call in, type if you're with us on Facebook, give your comments, give your extra questions tonight, because we're talking about living single in a married world. And what we mean by that is that most of us that are listening or on Facebook are married, and sometimes we do things that we did in our single life, or we never left doing the things that we did in our single life. So let me just give you an example. Let's just say you used to go out every Thursday night and from 8 to midnight, and now you're married and your wife or your husband, because I'm not going to say that it's the husband. I'm not going to blame it on y'all.
Good
you know,
job.
most of the time y'all the ones who can't stop living single though, but I'm not going to say that.
Uh-oh.
So,
Bulletproof vests is needed.
so if your wife or your spouse, let me just say, if your spouse does not approve or like the fact that you are still going out with your friends from 8 to 12 on Thursday, then you shouldn't be going out from 8 to 12 on Thursday until you can come to a compromise, until you can come to something, because you did that when you were single. And if you didn't talk about it before you got, married, then you have some communication to do. You know, we talk about communication a lot. You have some communication to do to either have come to an agreement about it or just stop it altogether if you are trying to please your spouse. And so I talk about this because when we're getting married, everybody is like, oh yes, I'm about to get married, can't wait, ready to do this thing. And as soon as you get married and you want to do something and your spouse has a question to it or a disagreement to it, you are, and 9 times out of 10, this is something that you are already doing, or that may appear to be a single life thing.
Right.
Okay. And so for everybody, a single life thing may look different. Okay. Yeah. It may look different. So, and then, then you want to, now you're upset. Now I'm going to live my best life. I'm going to still do, now she don't understand. I need to be with the fellas because this is what we always do. But did you talk about what you always do when you get married? And so that's why I want y'all to call in, because somebody's going to need some help tonight. On this topic, maybe some of you were living single, were doing things, that in your relationship, it wasn't good for it. And then when you decided to change, it made your relationship better. Or when y'all came to a compromise, it made your relationship better. And so I think I probably shared this before somewhere, that my husband likes long hair. So, but I never had this conversation with him about my hair, because I never even thought about it. I just feel like I'm just going to do what I want to do with my hair, and it's going to be okay. It's going to really be okay. And so not that he's like, no, you ain't doing it, or it looks a mess when it's short. Never says that, but his preference is long hair. Mm-hmm. So long, real hair.
Real hair. Bless your heart.
So if I continue to cut my hair, or I continue to just be like, oh, I'm going to do what I want, or, just show up with my hair. So some people did not understand, why are you asking him about your hair? Because that's my husband. And and to keep my house happy, this is how we do it. And so I really didn't care what people thought or what they said, or it's not that serious, it's only hair, it's this, that, and the third. But until we could come to an agreement, and I think, that's why I had for those of you who've seen me, I used to have my hair shaved around the sides and the back, and I had the top long. And so if I wear it down, you couldn't tell. And then when I would pull it up, that pleased me, down pleased him. So that's why I had that for a minute. But we had to come to that agreement, and I couldn't just leave, go get my hair done, and come home bald,
Right.
You just can't do that. And people don't get it, but this is what you signed up for. Yeah. And I'm talking to my good favorite people. Who are my favorite people? The engaged, yes, the engaged couples. Y'all are my favorite people, because now is the time to talk about this. This is what I do now. Will this be a problem when we get married?
Right.
This is what I've been doing. Will this be a problem when I get married? When we get married? If you are, if you have certain friends, let me give you this. This is my true story. I have a friend, that we always been friends. But for a minute, we got separated a little bit, and we were getting back to being friends or whatever, reconciling our relationship, whatever you want to call it, becoming besties, BFFs again, whatever, and whatever y'all call it. And so, hey Saffron, and so when we were, we both asked our husbands, like, is this okay? Is this okay? Because at a certain point in our life, it was fine, but now we've grown, we've matured, we're doing different things, we are different people. Is this okay? Because this is not saying that, oh no, you can't speak to her. And if Marcus would have said it's not okay, he wouldn't have said it's not okay, like you can't ever talk to her. But no, we're like back to everydayers, talking, hanging out, whatever. So is that okay? Or is that going to change something? Or does she change me? Or do I change her? So we need to make sure, is it okay? Are we, at this level we are, is that okay? And people might find that weird. Who cares if my husband thinks it's okay with this friend or that friend? But I don't, because I feel like we gotten this to be with our spouses, to please our spouses. Why shouldn't we ask? Right. Why shouldn't we ask? So do we have a comment? Are you looking? Okay, go ahead. I'll take a pause
Um,
for the cause.
The question is, should these things be established?
Do we have a
should these
commercial we can
things-
play?
Should these things be established in the beginning, and can they switch up in the middle?
Exactly. And okay, yes, I do think that these things should be established in the beginning, but I think some things we don't know to be established in the beginning.
Okay.
So I'm not going to totally fault anybody because some things we don't know. Like, I really wasn't thinking about my hair, that this is going to be an issue. Now, of course, I heard it, and some things you hear, but you ain't sure, So you ain't sure. You just think, like, he just said he liked long hair. He never actually said don't cut yours or don't, hair grows back. What's the problem? I can have it back for you in like 6 months. But so I didn't know to ask that or even talk about that. But the things that we know, I just don't want us to be, to think, oh, that it'll be fine because it's fine now. And the same with the other spouse. If there's a problem, you should speak on it. You should say, yeah, I really don't like, Jermaine. I don't really like him. I like you, Jermaine, though. But I really don't like Jermaine. Like, I don't really think you should hang with Jermaine. If that's a problem now, like, I really get a bad vibe from Jermaine. Not necessarily I don't like, I get a bad vibe from him. So are you going to be hanging with him? And, in the middle, I think it can switch up. And that's the reason why the friend that I'm using myself as an example because I know myself in my relationship. The friend that, I reconnected with, it was fine in the beginning of our relationship. Everything was great. So, but I didn't want to take for granted that with this time and space we've had, is this still going to be fine? Because I was very immature back then. I'm very different now, and so was she. So we're very different now. So we had to make sure that it was right. But I do think, and I hope that I'm answering your question, that yes, it can switch up in the middle. And also I think that meaning if it was okay, it can be not okay. But I think that we have to communicate it, and we always talk about communication. I think communication is going to be a big key in everything we talk about. So I think that we have to communicate as soon as it seems like it's not all right anymore, or the hours of it is not fine, or whatever you're doing. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't always have to be outside the house. It could be something that you're doing in the house that is something you did when you were single that your spouse is just like, no, you just can't do it. You cannot leave the top off the toothpaste. You can't leave the toilet seat up. Anything that's causing friction, and if you really think about it, I want y'all to really think now, like, what am I doing that I did in my single life that my wife or my husband says something about that I just ignore because I feel like, well, I was doing this before we got married. But did you ask the question, is this going to be okay?
Right. And that happens often. In as far as, can it change, or, dealing with it, can it switch up? The reality of it is that there should be checkups, because theoretically our love for one another should remain, but it should grow. And as people, as we grow older and get more mature and get a little wisdom, some things about us should change, should develop, should advance. So your relationship should not be the same relationship 5 years, 10 years down the line as it was the day that you got married, because hopefully the two of you have, evolved to a point to, that there's some growth that you can see. So one of the questions that we had was, do we think that people, just want a partner for sex,
Christian.
and so, and Christians at that. So here's the reality to that. Partner is the wrong word to use because most of them only want companionship. They don't want partnership, because partnership is give and take, and most are not willing to adjust. They just want the companionship and they want it on their terms. Most people are not actually getting in relationships, getting in marriages to please their spouse. They're getting in relationships and getting in marriages to be pleased. They're looking for their spouse to be the one to make the adjustments and do everything so that they can be happy, and they are in autopilot doing nothing. So most people are not getting into relationships for partnership. They're getting into relationships for satisfaction. And sex is a great portion.
Okay, I'm about to say.
Sex is a great portion of the reason that they're getting in these relationships. And in some cases it's bad because they're trying to eliminate sin. That's their goal initially. You know, I don't want to live wrong, and if we're going to do this, we need to be married. No. Sex should not be the reason that you get married, because
Engaged couples, listen up.
You're going
My
to need a lot
people.
more.
My
You're
people,
going to need a lot
listen up.
more than sex
And
in
love.
your relationship. Exactly. Sex is not enough, and nor is love enough for your relationship to be successful. So, you know, it's going to take a little more than sex and love for your relationship to be successful. Now you ain't got to be scared. Ask your questions.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Yeah, ask your questions. You ain't got to be scared. And you know, we here to help you if something go down. So listen. So here's another spin on this that we can add to the equation. Dealing with, you know, this living single. Now, of course, it's a mentality first, because your mentality shapes your behavior. So it's a mentality first that you have to buy into the fact that you are no longer an individual. That's the hardest part. In getting married, we forget that in getting married, we no longer are an individual. We are a unit. So, you know, and especially for men, you know, it's difficult for us as men sometimes to relinquish the power of our independence when we get married, because you feel like unless you grow and you get an understanding that you're losing a piece or a portion of your manhood because you're partnering, and you're losing your independence, you're losing, you know, your ability to just make selfish decisions and choices, where now you're in a relationship and it requires you to check in with somebody. It requires you to get permission. It requires you to get approval. And that's difficult for some men because that ain't what you're used to, you know. And then you definitely don't want to do it with your homeboys. They're like, hey, man, let's do something. Don't nobody want to be like, I'm going to get back to you. I need to ask my wife. Because just you feel your pride is challenged at that moment in having to do that. Now, most men are going to lie in that type of situation and be like, you know what, I think we got something planned, but let me check and make sure it's a definite or going to do something, versus saying, I need to ask my wife. Now, you grow and you mature into the understanding that, hey, we're a team, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make me less of a man because I'm saying I need to ask my wife. It doesn't make me any less of a king because I need to consult with my wife. None of that changes anything about your manhood. It changes nothing about your kingship. It changes nothing about, you know, who you are as an individual. But it does change who you are as an individual, because you aren't an individual. And that's the part, you know, like we said, that becomes a little challenging, especially for men. Now, women, you know, y'all might have your own little situations, but sometimes it's a little difficult, you know what I'm saying? And you always trying to make sure that you got, you know, the right support or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It makes it a little more difficult.
So please call in. If you're with us on Facebook, you can type your questions or your comments. Hey, Tanya.
You just surrender. Man.
And Antoine is just surrendering. Forget it. Forget the conversation. She sees. She can see. She's a seer. So call us at 1-855-493-6499. If you have a question or comment, you can help somebody. Trust me, you can help somebody with this. You can help us, because Team Bevins didn't do this right.
Got that right.
We didn't do this right.
No, not this here.
So, you know, and they were, you know, we didn't do this right. We just, hey, Robin, we just thought we could just do whatever we wanted to do, and it caused a lot of pain and hurt. And, you know, and that's the flip side. Like, your spouse is not always saying it because they just don't want you to do it.
Right.
Sometimes they do, you know, sometimes they see things.
Man, this
Sometimes
here, I jacked this situation up right here. Because when we first got married, you know, I was just like, listen, my mentality starting out was, you know, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to make sure that, you know, the provision is taken care of. I'm going to make sure that we are not lacking, or we're not missing, or we're not whatever. And the challenge with that was that mentality wasn't wrong. It was just wrong that it wasn't coupled with communication. So I was just going out and just doing stuff. I was going here, singing here, playing here, doing this, and all of that in the mindset that, hey, I'm doing this to get money. I'm doing this because this is going to bring income into our house. This is what's going to sustain us. This is what's going to help us to be able to have the things we want and do the things we want to do. But that mindset without communication leaves her in limbo saying, okay, I know you work a job and I know the hours you work. But now you going here and you doing piano lessons, you doing vocal coaching, you doing a concert here, you doing, all this other stuff that's happening. And sure, it's bringing in dollars.
Or they coming to our house.
Right. Or they coming to the
my
house
gosh.
to get that stuff happening. You know what I'm saying?
Them
And so the
Spurts.
yeah,
Spurts
and
out
so
of here.
all of that stuff had to be conversations that I wasn't having in the beginning. I'm just like, here, listen, a couple dollars is coming in here. So, because the mentality in the beginning was, you ain't going to argue with money. You ain't going to argue with money because it's beneficial to you. But at the same time, what wasn't beneficial and what wasn't fair is that I wasn't communicating it. And I later had to learn that in some instances, money did not trump my time. Money did not trump my presence. So, because sometimes we can think, especially as men, we can sometimes think that our presence gifts are more valuable than our presence person. So we will do things trying to provide a present instead of being present. And that can bring more damage and harm while you, with your intentions are good, are doing a bad thing. So that communication is extremely important. And I was not doing that well in the beginning. Not at all. That was a major fail.
You reading or I'm reading?
Go ahead.
Okay. We have a comment. Growth was big for my wife and I. We were married extremely young and maturing together through our journey helped. Communication was major, and her letting me grow as a man and as a husband worked wonders.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And some of this I do believe comes with maturity. It definitely does because, like he said, he thought he was doing whatever he had to do to bring in money and pay bills and do all of that, but that's not always good. So like I said, we're not always talking about you're out doing something bad.
Right.
You can be, if you working 7 days a week and then you get married, no spouse is with that. I don't know anybody who's with you working 7 days a week. They're going to figure out, okay, how can we do this so you can be home at least one day because your time and you being home is far more precious than being out, whether you're the wife or the husband. It is, and most spouses would not argue with that. That if you're working 7 days a week, you got to sleep when you get home.
Right.
So how much time will you have?
Yeah.
If you're working on your off day, you got to sleep. I mean, you have to, when you get done, you have to sleep, you have to rest. But then if you're off and you're still working, that's a problem. We have to think about that. But when you were single, you can do that. You weren't obligated to anybody. You could work however many days. You could just work straight through if you wanted. Don't come home. Just work for 3 days. Work straight through. It's a reason why I don't work in a hospital because I just don't want to. Hospital is nice. Hospital money is nice. You can make extra money. You can get all that. But the hospital is not conducive to my family and my lifestyle. It's just not. So I could do it, but will my family see me? Would I even be able to function when they do see me? No, because I did it for a while and it just wasn't working. And if it snows, will you be stuck at the hospital if your relief doesn't come? Yes, you will.
Right.
And trust me, if you're in the hospital, you want somebody to take care of you. So who's going to fuss about that? But also you have to know what your family is, and what you have to do is pray and ask God to open doors for you.
Right.
Send you opportunities and careers where you can manage your home life, whatever that is, because that's different for all of us. And God will do it. But you got to be faithful to him. You got to be obedient to him. And then you have to be obedient to the gift that he has given to both of you, to each other. Because then if you out here like, oh, I'm making the money, I'm gonna do what I want to do, I'm gonna buy what I want to buy, go where I want to go, then it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. God's gonna start showing you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you how this is gonna work. You're gonna get all that money from singing and playing, and bills still not gonna be paid. Holes gonna be in your pocket, and you're gonna be what's happening because your spouse is saying like, I need you here, not out there doing that. Go ahead.
Right. And so we're gonna jump into a couple of the comments in a second. The something I want to, I'll be the bearer of bad news. There are, again, we're talking about things that cause you or allow you to live single while you're married. And again, everything is not bad. You know what I mean? Everything is not about you being out there cheating or having somebody else. And it's not about that. It's about your mentality. It's about your communication. And it's about your decision making. So, in this scenario, there are some people who are living single because they are cheating. They're cheating on their marriage with their dream because they did not properly communicate their dream and get their mate to be a team member of this dream. So now you're out here grinding, and whenever you're dealing with a dream and you're dealing, especially with building a business, it takes so much work, it takes so much effort, so much dedication, so much time that if you two are not on the same page and you two are not properly communicating with each other, you will build that business while you are destroying your family. And it won't be anything or anyone that you can blame but yourself. So there are some people who are so stuck on their dream that they are forsaking their family. And the reality is this: you should have worked on that dream before you said I do. If you weren't going to partner and have that dialogue and communicate to where the two of you are working together to make it happen. And so if that's your case, you need to have some conversations, because without that conversation, you out here reckless trying to make your dream happen while your spouse is at home quietly hating your dream because it's taking you away from them. And they love you enough that they don't want to start friction, so they don't want to seem like they're against your dream. So they try to just ride it out, but they are unhappy with it because you didn't communicate with them, and all that it takes and requires is taking away from them. So, wanted to share that with you. All right, let's jump back to a couple of the comments.
Okay.
Fire, baby.
Go ahead.
Fire.
All right, we're 5 years in, and we're still fumbling with communication. Even when we think we've communicated well, we're communicating well, we find that we are still figuring out the best way to get the message across. And communication takes time, it takes work, it takes consistency, and it changes.
Yes.
It changes. Communication changes. It definitely changes. So that kind of jumps into the next comment. How do you not make communication nagging? Men often think women are over communicating, or that they over communicate. You got to know who you're talking to. You have to know their way of functioning. So some people are just get to the point people. I don't need all of the fluff. I don't need all of the, I don't need the appetizer. Just give me the meal. You know what I mean? Let's just get right to the point. Some people need all of the details. They need all of the specifics. They need, the foreground. They need the situation. They need the background, what's going to happen after the fact. They need all of that. So you got to know who you're communicating with so that you know how to communicate. It's not as cut and dry, when you talk about just male, female, because it's often said that men don't talk, or that, women over talk, but it's vice versa as well too. There are some men that over talk, over communicate, as we would say, and women who don't communicate, or communicate well, or whatever the case. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately about you knowing who you're communicating with, knowing your mate, knowing your spouse. And the bottom line is you want your communication to be effective. And in order for it to be effective, you have to study who you're communicating with so that you know how to get the message across to them in a manner that they'll receive it, where they'll be able to process it. And if it requires a return or something of that nature, that they'll be able to do that. So some men are kind of like, for I guess an analogy that we could use, some men are kind of like, all we need is the trailer. We don't need the whole movie. You know, just give me the trailer, and the trailer is enough for me to understand the whole movie. You know, and then they can kind of deal with it and respond with it from there.
So I think that communication becomes well, they're two different things, but I think that communication turns into nagging when we are communicating and not we think we're communicating, but we're not saying what we have to say and listening to the response. So you begin to nag because either you didn't hear what you wanted to hear from your spouse, or you're not listening that they answered you. They answered your question because you're so busy with your emotions and what you're trying to say that you just continue to harp on the same thing. You didn't do this, you blah, 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 whatever. And they already answered you. Whether they answered you the way you wanted to or not. But I think sometimes we don't get the answer that we're looking for. So then we're like back on it again. And it becomes nagging because that person already said, guess what? This is what I said. I'm not taking the trash out. If it goes out on Wednesday, I'm going to take it out on Wednesday morning, not Tuesday. And you're like, but the trash, the trash go out today. It's Tuesday, and you're still nagging. But they told you they were going to take it out. They're just going to do it on Wednesday morning, not Tuesday night when you want them to. And so I think that sometimes that we don't listen, for the answer. We need to first, like Marcus said, learn the communication, learn the way our spouses communicate so that we communicate effectively. And in doing that, we are going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. We are going to make a lot of mistakes. We're going to have a lot of times that we're upset and we're frustrated, but we can't let that stop our communication. We can't let that stop us from saying, just forget it. That's why I ain't even talking to you. That's why I'm going to do my own thing. You could do that when you were dating.
Right.
But you cannot do that when you're married. Okay? Engaged couples, I'm hollering at y'all tonight. Listen to me. You can do that when you're dating, but when you're married, you can't do that. So you have to learn the ways, but learning the ways, and I'm speaking from experience, are not easy, nor does it come quick.
Right.
It doesn't come quick because we are two different people coming from two different areas trying to put this thing together and figure out how to work this household or this relationship out. And you have yours and I have mine. Like, how do we do this? Before, I just, for me, I just told my parents, hey, I'm about to do X, Y, Z, and I'm gone. It's no thing. But it doesn't work like that with your husband, with your spouse. So, that's what I think. I think that it becomes nagging, especially for a man when he's like, I don't know what you don't hear. I already told you what I'm and you're back here again the next week talking about this trash. But did the trash man pick the trash up last week? It's just it wasn't the way you wanted it to be, and that's not always the case. I'm just saying, for most of the times we do not hear what somebody is saying to us,
or accept the answer,
because it wasn't the way we thought it. And I think sometimes we would even miss it if they said what we wanted them to say because we're so busy getting the next thought in our mind to talk. That we miss a lot of the communication that's happening.
Right. And somebody said communication is a process, and it indeed is. It's definitely something that requires time, effort, practice, and you have to also have some leeway for the person you're communicating with to understand that they are learning you the same way you're learning them. Don't think that because y'all went together for 4 years and was engaged for a year or 2 years and y'all got 6 years under your belt that when you get married, y'all got this marriage thing down. Nah, you just had going together down and you had engagement down. You got married and it's a brand new situation.
And nobody's going to tell me that it's not different because I got a lot of people be like, it ain't different. It's not going to be no different.
When you was going together and you was engaged, that car was an automatic. You got married and that joint became manual. It was a stick shift. You got to do the work and you got to change the gears. You got to do that. And you trying to figure out why you stuck. You trying to figure out why you burning out your clutch. You trying to figure out why you can't get up the hill. You trying to figure all these things out because it was easy when it was automatic. Now that it's manual, you got to do the work.
So,
all right, so we had another comment. One thing I learned is not to relay important things when he is on the phone. I used to say things in passing, and even though he acknowledged me talking, he wasn't really listening. So we look at each other when it is important, and that has helped. So that seems simple, but it's a major thing and it works.
And that is major. Because yesterday I was talking to Marcus. Y'all know I'm going to tell y'all about myself. He was looking at his phone and he missed it. And I wasn't upset because that's what I get. Talking to him when he was looking at his phone, he missed it. Now, he was upset because I said, never mind, you ain't hear what I said. No, I did. You said, no, because you missed it. You making up stuff now. You missed the whole thing. No. So I just said, I'll just tell you later when you paying attention. Because at this point, I have matured to know, like, why you going to keep talking? Either he going to put his phone away and listen to you, or you just going to tell him later when he's not looking at his phone. Because you're going to have to say it again anyway if it's something important. So, that was a lesson learned. That was just real maturity instead of me just taking the phone. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all know the Tyler Perry movie,
Why Did I
Get Married? When he takes the phone, I'm telling y'all, I just want to do this, right? When he takes her phone, and it made it even better that it was him taking her phone and not her taking his, but when he takes her phone and he throw that sucker across the room, can I say sucker on the radio? When he throw that phone across the room.
Long as it's an S.
Right.
Long as it's an S.
Right. We do believe in God on this show. We do serve God. So he takes that phone and he throws that phone across the room. Like, that was the best. I know he got so much relief. I know this is a movie, y'all, but I lived in it in that moment. I said he got so much relief when he did that, broke that phone. He probably had to buy a new one later, so that's why Marcus still got his phone. But But yeah, so either that or it had to be maturity, because then I would be throwing phones, putting phones in toilets. I'm not doing that, and I'm saying this stuff because I know I'm helping somebody. Because y'all are not gonna act like you didn't want to throw a phone, you didn't want to put it in the toilet, you didn't want to call the people and turn it off if you're paying for it. You're not gonna act like that, because phones are a big part of our lives now, and they are stopping a lot of our communication.
Indeed.
They stop our kids can't even communicate. One of our friends posted today that his child didn't talk to them 45 minutes to school. She was on her phone, and she a little girl. So these phones are messing up our communication. So that was my rant. But yes, that is a good point. Just look at each other when it's you don't help somebody. See, you help me. Look at each other when it's important. That's something simple. But look at each other and pay attention to what the person is saying. Don't just be looking like, oh yeah, thinking about what you're about to do in 5 minutes. Look and pay attention. All right.
Right.
Go ahead, Tim.
If I ask, I feel like I'm inviting help. If too much time passes and I need it done, I do it myself. Is that wrong? No, it's not wrong that you do it yourself. I think that what we have to do when we're asking for help, this is a universal challenge that we have when it comes to help. What we got to know is our emergency is not everybody else's emergency. So the urgency that you have about the matter when you asking may not be the urgency of the person that's hearing the matter in their response. So if you need someone else to do it, you have to give them more time than you would give yourself. Because like, for instance, take school or something that you know how to do, a project or anything like that. You might look at that, you get a task and you like, okay, I got a week to get this done. But you look at it and you say, you know what, I can get this done in 4 hours. So I'm going to wait until the 5th day to start because I can get it done in 4 hours. I don't really need the whole week. But that's only because you're doing it. You know what I mean? And you know what your capabilities are. You know how you work. You know how you operate. Now, that would not be a good situation if someone else had to do something and it was connected to somebody else, because then you don't leave them time to do their part. But if you had to ask for help, you can't wait until the 5th day to ask for help, because now you're putting pressure on the other person to do what has to be done within a day, when they may have had something else already scheduled, already planned, or, anything happening with that. So whenever asking for help, you just want to leave more time than it necessarily takes, or you don't want to ask for the help in the manner in which you would do it, because you're not the person that you're asking for help. And you can't force them to move on your time when you're asking them for help. So now, in the perfect world, we want people to just do it when we ask, but that's just not
my world.
That's not reality. You know what I'm saying? That's just not reality. And in some instances, it's not fair to the other person to assume that they just either are going to do it right this second. They're going to stop, drop, and roll. You know, they're going to, you know, do whatever. Like, that's just not fair. That's not fair to the person. And sometimes we try to trump what someone has to do off of our relationship, which is not always healthy. You know what I mean? Because then they kind of feel like you trying to strong on me, or, you know, you trying to challenge me or whatever. You know, it could be anything, but just, you know, a rule of thumb, whenever you asking anybody for help, allow time for the help that you need to be done with some cushion, and not like, you know, you can't wait till your back is up against the wall and need them to do it immediately.
And so you say you just do it yourself. Is it wrong? It's wrong if you do it with a wrong spirit. So if you slamming stuff around while you're doing it, you know, see, because again, I'm going to tell you about Cherie. So if you like, forget it, I'm just going to do it. You just slam the door. You just slam the clothes around. You just slam the dryer, the wash machine. You put this. If you do it with the wrong spirit, yes, it's wrong. If you just do it because you're saying, okay, you're not going to do it, I'm just going to do it, just go ahead, you know. But if you're doing it and you're just a mess doing it, then
Right.
yes, it's wrong.
And for the record, 9 times out of 10, the other person really don't care that you feel that way and you doing all
Not
that,
at
because
all.
they're just like, oh, well, cool, I ain't got to do it. And then that makes you even more upset because they're not responsive to, you know, to your loud noises, thinking you can be like, what's wrong? What happened? They asking what's wrong. They just like, cool, I ain't got to do it now. Go ahead, you can go on the next one.
Wait a minute, I lost. Okay, so wait, where's the next one? I'll ask. Okay, we got that. We have been right here. Am I here? We have been married for 10 years, and I can say God has to be first. It took me so long to understand that. So thank you, God. Praise God. Thank
That's
you,
good
God,
stuff.
for
Yeah.
me too, because He has to be first. Because we're gonna move in our own flesh, and we're gonna mess this up every single time.
Every time. Guaranteed. Listen, you don't want to leave it to me. You don't want to leave it to me to do it.
No, what?
I can mess it up.
What?
Yeah, you don't want me fixing sink. That ain't what. Listen, let me tell you one thing about Marcus Bevins. I know my lane, and I operates in it. I ain't going outside my realm. You be like, fix the sink. You go in there, cut that water on, and the toilet to flush. You be trying to figure out what's happening. You cut that faucet on, and the volume on the TV go up.
This is so true. Woo. But when he gets it, okay? When he gets something, then everybody got to be up all night until they get finished.
Hey.
Told him how to hang them TVs on the wall. We got to be up to 3 o'clock in the morning. You going to hang every last TV on the wall. But, okay, I'm going to keep, you know, that was a commercial break.
Hey, you watching them, ain't you? You ain't
Next.
looking down on the floor.
They ain't sitting on no crates, that's for sure.
Put the crates up, baby. Put the crates up. Go put them on the crates.
Next comment. Avoid body language, tone, and facial expression when communicating. Learn each other's love languages. It will help you to communicate effectively. Excellent.
Very good.
Oh, I thought you brought a comment. Okay. Minivan. I missed that. I don't know. A whole new frontier. Okay. Asking for a friend. Married, living single. Her husband married, living single. Her husband watches butts. She says she's going to buy one, and he said no. Your opinion. Her point. I'm going to get what you like.
Let me address that.
Oh, let's go.
Let me address-
Let me.
Like real butts?
Yeah, booties.
Butts.
Booties.
Pe-
Yes, booties. So listen, let me.
Booties or butts?
Butts are booties.
Butts. Yeah.
Okay, butts. Like the butt.
The butt. Your backside you sit on.
Y'all said
Yeah.
boozy though.
No, he said booties or but yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
all
right.
right. Okay.
Right. Yeah, we just had to get it straight in here. All right, we got it now.
Bonus school for
We
y'all.
got
Yes.
we got it together. Y'all pray for our producer. We got it together. Okay, so now let's address this scenario because this happens frequently. And so the thing is this. Understand, ladies, that as men by nature, we are creatures of sight. So we don't mind looking at something. You know what I mean? Whether we and because we look at it don't mean that we want it.
I clap on that.
You see what I'm saying? It's not that we want it. And then in some cases, you know, we got what we wanted. That's why we got you. And don't think that because we looked at somebody else's booty that now we want you to go get a booty.
Go get a booty.
One of my partners, he had just posted something the other day, and he was like, you know, ladies, y'all have to understand that you have to be comfortable with who you are. Don't go tripping on us, you know, because we looking at some booties. These people done already bought them booties, most of them. You know, you got a couple real ones, but you know what I'm saying? We want to be able to enjoy what we have. We want to be able to touch your booty and our hand goes, you know, inside, not bounce back because it's rubber or it's tough or it's, you know, silicone or it's, you know, we don't want to deal with that. Although it may be nice to look at, that is not what we want to have for ourselves. So don't get that confused. The same way that you love your car that you drive, it's not that you don't look at another car when it rides down the street and say, oh, that's a nice car. That don't mean that you're going to the dealership trying to trade the one that you got to get that car. No, you just admire the fact that it's a nice car. It is a nice car. And so I guess the difference is you all can look and be like, oh, man, she's shaped nice. But if we do it, it's lust. If you do it, it's a compliment. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of like, it kind of goes. So it's not necessarily that he's out trying to get a butt, you know, or he's trying to get you to, he ain't got no butt on layaway for you. It ain't that kind of situation. It's just that he saw it, he liked it, and he moved on. You know what I mean? So don't think that that's a thing.
Now, if he's not complimenting you or you're lacking in that area, now I can understand why you would want to, you know, think that you have to go purchase this, but you don't, because you're fine just the way you are. And maybe this needs to be brought to his attention. I don't know if this is happening, but if he's looking at butts and he's not complimenting you or looking at you, you know, walk away and then look back and see if he's looking at you, you know. But if
he could be looking at your butt, but you can't see it.
Yeah, you ain't never look back, see if he's
him.
looking at you. So like, you know, and you know, we making jokes about it, but this is really serious. This is happening. This is not just you, whoever you are.
No.
This is not just you. This is plenty women that this is happening to. And so, you know, sometimes men lack on giving their wife that because they just think, oh, those compliments, because they just think, oh, she know, she with me, she know. But she don't know if you booty watching or whatever you watching. You could be watching whatever on another woman. She doesn't know. But that does not mean that you become that woman. Because reality is you won't ever become that woman.
Right.
You know, so.
Even if you get the butt.
Yeah, and then yours might go wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then do you have the money to fix it if you don't, you know, if it goes wrong? So, no. You have the money to get it, but do you have the money to fix it and to maintain it?
What if you went to a cross-eyed surgeon?
Okay, we're not. So please, if you have any comments or questions, please call in 1-855-493-6499. 1-855-493-6499. Next comment. The hype man is the producer. That's the hype man. So, yeah, some rear view glass and you can see, yeah, so then they can know, you know?
Right.
Okay, so, you know, I have a, is that all the comments right so far?
I believe so.
Okay. Y'all don't be afraid to call in. You can be anonymous. Nobody knows who you are except for us if we know you, because we know what you sound like. But nobody else knows. So let's talk about friendships. Friendships, because we too have made this mistake, you know, with friends of the opposite sex. You know, a lot of times your spouse is not okay with you having a brother, having a sister, having a good homeboy, having a good girl. These are opposite sex, you know, and not even, you know, because Marcus has some people that I'm just like, they're friends, guys. I'm like, yep, no. That was nice. That was nice back then. It's not nice now, you know, because it's just, what are they doing? What, you know, sometimes you gotta look at where you are now and where you going, and is this person still good for your situation? Not saying you won't speak to him, not saying you won't help him in a time of need, but things change and your whole life cannot be with them anymore. And so sometimes spouses are going back and forth, about this. And if anybody can chime in, or if anybody has any questions, don't be scared to call in. But they're going back and forth because this is something that you didn't talk about, and now you're afraid to talk about it. Like, you always knew something was, I'm not sure about that. Or you said she was your sister, but this sister thing is just not going to be able to do it. You have to speak on it. Because if you don't, something will go down that you will be like, oh my goodness, I wish I said something. Or, why didn't I just say something? You have to communicate about these things. And if it's okay, just keep the boundaries, make sure there are boundaries. Make sure when y'all are together, your spouse is there. Or whatever it is, whatever you agree on. I'm not saying everybody's going to say, no, you can't, no, you're not having no friends of the opposite sex. I have friends of the opposite sex. Marcus does. But I'm saying we didn't do this thing right in the beginning. And so sometimes the friends think that they have a little bit more clout than the spouse does. Right. And that's never going to happen.
Yeah, because they've been around, in their eyes, they've been around longer.
Yeah, you think, I've been here. So, no, but you've been here, but that means nothing. This has changed. This has changed, and you're never going to do, no. Never. Y'all know I like it. I like that confrontation. But no. That's not good. And so sometimes if you don't speak on it, you'll think your spouse is like, okay, well, yeah, they have been in your spouse, but your spouse doesn't even know how you feel. They don't know that it's changed, like that you feel like, wait a minute, y'all hanging out, y'all, no. Me and Marcus, we do our best. We're not perfect in it. We do our best now to try to kind of talk about everything and everybody. So if he's going somewhere, if he has a meeting with somebody, if he's going with, we talk about it. If I'm going here, I'm going with this person, we talk about it. Or I say it's okay. Even when I'm going with my girlfriends, because it needs to be okay. Right. It needs to be okay. Now, some things, y'all, if y'all think, oh no, this has been my homeboy or my homegirl since I was in kindergarten. If it's not okay with your spouse, then it's not okay. Right. I don't care how long it's been that person. Yep. It's not okay. You have to communicate about this. And you have to talk, because you're bringing animosity, you're bringing hurt, you're bringing bitterness into your relationship. And then you're wondering why this is not working out. Right. You're wondering why. Oh, because single things, y'all, my favorite people. I'm talking to y'all tonight. Any engaged couples that are on here, y'all are my favorite people. I'm talking to y'all tonight because you have the opportunity to now. Anything that Team Bevins can spark conversation in your relationship, please talk about it. Because I don't want you getting married, having to call, having to call in on here saying, man, y'all talked about this and I never talked about it. Now we're in the situation, or having to call your pastor, or having to call, somebody. No, I talk about it now, because these are things that some of us didn't know. Yeah. And we got in relationships and then we were struggling. And some of the things we did know, but we just thought, oh, it's going to be all good, until it wasn't. Exactly. Everything is okay until it's, until it's not. Until something happens and you're like, hold up. Do she think she got more clout than me? And he, right. And I've been there, y'all. I've been there, especially because Marcus is everywhere, singing, playing, whatever. So people tend to think they got friends. they besties, or they got more than what I got. And then for a minute, I was like, well, maybe they do, because he's just jolly. Hey, here, there, with everybody. But he doesn't feel if he doesn't feel the same way, he has to communicate that to them and to me. So if this is your friend, you have to tell them, hey, this is where we draw the line. Right. If I'm standing, people know, if I'm talking to Marcus, please don't interrupt me, because this is going to be a problem. If our producer shows up and while we out and start talking, walking up in the middle of me and Marcus talking, he's going to have a problem with me. Because, and I don't care. And he said he would never do that, but that's good. But he's going to have a problem, because when you see a husband and wife talking, you don't just come in the middle because you think, oh, me and Marcus been on a band together for years, or he been singing with me. I don't really care who you are. I don't really care. If my mother-in-law can wait, if she can be be courteous to us, right, then you can do the same. So yes, it's respect. So you have to also, if you're the person that is the friend or family member, whatever, we talked about that before, but is the friend, you have to be able to say, listen, when you see me standing here talking to my wife or my husband, you're gonna have to wait. Or when they do it, you have to stop them. 1 second. When we're done, I'll talk to you in 1 second. 1 second. Especially those of you who have a big following, and when I say a big following, I mean you may be a minister, you may be an elder, you may own a store, you may have a product you're selling that people want, people know you from here, you may sing, you may play somewhere. If you have that, you have to set boundaries, because people automatically think that y'all are besties.
Right.
And because you've been around a long time, it doesn't mean they don't come before your spouse.
That's right.
They don't come before you who you're in a relationship with. If I see 50 Cent right now, I'm running up on him. But I don't come before whoever he dealing with. I don't come before them. I messed y'all up right there, right? I messed y'all up. They was like, 50 Cent? I thought she said she served God.
Right.
I'm human, too.
Yeah.
And 50 Cent, love you, boy. But anyway.
But people gonna respect what you respect. You know what I mean? And in some cases, they're not going to respect it until you force them to respect it.
Exactly. And if you don't force them, you will be fighting a battle. And if you don't speak up as a spouse, you cannot be afraid to speak up. I've been here too. You cannot be afraid to speak up, because you're going to live hurting and nobody's going to know.
Right.
You hurting.
And your spouse might not even know.
Truth.
And you be thinking that they know, or they understand, or they felt they felt your vibe, and all that. And it's like, no, I didn't know you thought that. I didn't know you felt that way. But at the end of the day, that's why that communication is important, because the more that the two of you communicate, the more you have an understanding. And when you have an understanding, then you present your understanding to everybody that becomes connected to you. So that becomes something that is, extremely important. And a lot of times when we deal with how many, experiences we have, that we fall into that life that causes us to live single while we're married, much of that comes from the lack of communication. Had we had a conversation with our spouse, they could have, because oftentimes we don't bring them into the equation. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna pick up this side hustle so I can make some extra money. But you never had the conversation. They may not even like the side hustle. They might not feel like the money is necessary, anything. But if you do that without having that conversation, then you're opening the door for you all to have issues that you don't have to have. That communication is important. Like she mentioned about the friends, you have people, you gotta be on the same page with your friends. You gotta be on the same page that, hey, this person don't fit where we going. This person don't fit who we are now. I know that that's your homeboy from the first grade. I know that's your homegirl. And sometimes we can be loyal. We can be loyal to a fault. And sometimes we can put our loyalty in the wrong places. Where we're supposed to be loyal and where we're supposed to be committed, we ride or die with our homeboy. We ride or die with our homegirl. And we ain't that way with our spouse. So those are the kinds of things that we do that bring about dissension and stops us from, operating the way we're supposed to. One more comment.
Okay, last comment. How do you prioritize these relationships when it's children, not necessarily kids, but blended families, when it wasn't established in the beginning, or when they saying stuff like, no one comes before my children?
That's a problem, because the reality is this. Nobody likes to hear this, but when it comes to order and structure, the husband and the wife come before the children. Amen. Because with the husband and the wife, this ain't gonna sound the greatest to y'all, but with the husband and the wife, you can make another child. But with the mother and the son, you can't make another husband. So it's not about replacing, but it's about the order. It's about establishing, some order in that household. And if you don't do it with the blended family, because in many cases, the husband can't make that call with that child until the mother already sets the standard. That mother can't make that call until that man sets the standard and sets it in order. Then they can enforce it. So that teamwork is important.
So guys, we hope that we sparked some conversation, and we hope that we spark some change in you today. Please, please communicate about this. Please don't live single in your married life. Please look at your ways tonight. Think about it. Sit down and think about what you've done, what you're doing that still is a fragrance of your single life. And we will be praying for you, and please pray for us, and have a great night.
Thank y'all for joining. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Couples Corner with Team Bevins. We're grateful that you stopped by and shared your time with us tonight. We look forward to seeing you again here next week at 9 p.m. And feel free to share this on your page with any of your people who would benefit from this conversation. We're grateful that you shared your time with us. And now we've got to go, but we look forward to connecting with you again here on the Couples Corner with Team Bevins.